Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. Welcome to Connect Africa. Once again, we are here with our, by now, I don't think it's a tri-weekly session. It's like every day or the daily session analysis on what's happening in Africa and beyond what matters to us with Kwame Gonza. In a second, we will welcome him. So for today, our topic is on what just happened over the weekend, which is the 65th summit, the annual summit of ECOWAS. And one day ahead of that, there was also the first summit of the heads of states of the Alliance of the Sahel states, which is, where their leaders have met for the first time, like as a summit. Welcome, Kwame.
Thank you so much, Mahlet. Thank you for having me, and greetings to everyone who's watching us on Connect Africa. As you know, this is an African-centered platform, so we welcome you to go along with us on this journey. And all of you who are working with us on this journey, we welcome you once again. We appreciate you. We don't take it for granted that you are part of this platform, and you support us in all kind of ways. There's people who have been supporting with PayPal. There's people who have been supporting, with the Marit, how do you call it? The YouTube. How do you call it? The one they contribute on YouTube. There's PayPal, and then there's another one.
Yeah, I really don't know. It's not Cash App. Sometimes I see Cash App though, but yeah, it's
Okay.
fine.
Yeah, so everyone who has been contributing, we don't take it for granted. We really appreciate it that you are doing that. So, as Malet has said, today we are going to discuss ECOWAS. And as you know, ECOWAS and then AES, which is the Sahel states, the revolutionary Sahel states. Unlike other people who have been calling them junta, for us, we don't call them junta, we call them revolutionaries. We call them leaders, and that is what distinguishes us as a Pan African platform. That is why we are Pan African in our outlook, because we bring the Pan African outlook of things. So while platforms like Fox News, CNN, BBC, and First Post, even from India, are calling them juntas, we don't call them juntas, we call them revolutionaries, because we understand what is going on. We understand that a different narrative is trying to be painted, and to quiet down the voices of the Africans and what African people desire, because these leaders have a lot of support in their countries, and they have support all over the continent. So there's an attempt to quiet down those voices of the people all over the African continent who are saying that the continent must change and it must go in a different direction. The continent of Africa must come out from the neo-colonial, grip which it is in right now, and go in a different direction, and that is the Pan-African direction, which these leaders are going into. But there's an attempt to quiet those voices. So yeah, we are here to make the ground leveled. We are here to make the ground leveled, and we are here to push out the right Pan-African narrative, which indeed is in the voices of our people and what they want to say. That is exactly what we are going to say. What our people want to hear, that is what we are going to say. And Mallet, I want to give it back to you, but
Yeah.
maybe you can briefly go through a little bit of history, how things started, before we reached where we are, the struggles the Sahel states have been through, or, the blackmail which ECOWAS wanted to bring, and of course, with their European allies. I think that would be very good to help to give it a little bit of background so that our people who have not been following, especially from the Caribbean, from the United States, so that they can understand what this Sahel states or the AES is about. Maybe you can go back, because you have reported extensively on this. Every event that has been around, you have been reporting on it. How France has been disturbing. The expulsion of France and expulsion of the United States. How all the things have been going through. I think it will help our people to have a little bit of background. So let me give it back to you, Mallet. Thank you so much.
Okay, so just like that, you put me on the spot. Very good. I accept the challenge. uh, yeah,
You are
so
the,
we have been
you are the
reporting.
one who is always asking the questions. You are
Yeah,
always asking the questions. So let me be the one this time to ask the
I
questions.
can see. Yeah, yeah. Just know that this was not planned, people. But yeah, so uh, it's basically the alliance of the Sahel states is Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Now, Mali and Burkina Faso have got their revolutionary leader, or they have gone through their revolution before Niger. One of them a year ago, the other one I think maybe a year plus, Mali, and then Burkina Faso, and then Niger. Now things got heated up, I think, when Niger got through that revolution, which is exactly a year ago on July 23, in which General Abdurrahman Tihani came to power. And ever since then, it did not, this countries or these states did not stop to, they did not disappoint us. They did not, stop really doing what they have been doing. They are very committed. Now, a very quick analysis will be in July, Niger got its independence, let's say, from neo-colonialism, and then in September they have created a defense pact, and they all have kicked out, they have cut their ties militarily and also diplomatically with the French government. But still there are some remnant, like one or two diplomats, but they really have cut their diplomatic relationship. And then fast forward in January, they have created or established this Alliance of Sahel States, in which it has been it's a project, and they have been working on it with various ministers, all concerned on foreign minister level, on the prime minister level. I think it was just maybe less than a month ago they have met. So it was waiting to create really this confederation officially. It was waiting for the approval of the leaders, and that's exactly what happened in this first summit when they met in Niamey in Niger. They have gone through a lot of things. They have started to nationalize their natural resources. Not all, but they have started the way. And also we have seen how they were very clear, actually. And they have cut their relationship with ECOWAS. Actually, that happened. They left ECOWAS. That happened end of March or beginning of April. Diomaye Faye of Senegal was sent as a kind of mediator, although he said he's not mandated by anyone. But they told him on a national television, this is a road not to be, that's not going to be reversed. So this is where they are. They seem very committed, and we have seen a global Pan-African support, or let me say African support, to these leaders, and everybody wants them to be protected. Now, not only they have cut their military and their diplomatic relationships, they were also able to kick out the military that they have, the French military, the US military. The last one is leaving, I think, from Niger. The second batch, the first batch has left, the second batch is leaving in August, the last batch will leave in September. But what we have seen in this summit, the welcoming of the leaders in Niger by Nigerians, it was something that left everybody, I think, speechless, how these people are loved. And I think that will just fire them for more commitments. And I think, let me just leave it there. And if you allow me, I'm going to go ahead and start to ask you, unless you want to reflect. That will help if it helps, for the people.
Yes. Let me just add a little bit. Let us forget that ECOWAS, of course, was being used, as everyone knows, by the West to impose sanctions on them. And of course, it was an attempt to blackmail and to intimidate. They used all tactics, intimidation, blackmail, and even Victoria Newland. We saw her that tried, when she was the Deputy Undersecretary of of State, the Deputy Secretary of State of Washington, she tried to go to Niger when the coup occurred because they wanted to see that the United States still secured its presence in Niger because it had two big military bases there which had drones, and those bases they were used to spy on mostly on most of Africa, on a big part of Africa. So recently, that military base, after they expelled France and its military, then they have been also successful at expelling the United States. But all these countries also tried to bribe them. They tried to bribe the leaders, and even this was said over the weekend that they tried to bribe them. They tried to send their, puppets to go and talk to them that they are going to give them back those countries for them to be the ruling people in those countries. So they see the countries, the West sees the countries as belonging to them. So this was very well mentioned by, President Traore in his speech. He mentioned it. They tried, of course, also to overthrow the government in Burkina Faso a couple of times. Actually, Burkina Faso had some coups which were back to back before even President Traore came. There was another one called Dabiba. They removed, I think they removed President Conde. No, not Conde. Conde was for Guinea. They removed the president. I've forgotten his name. The president who was removed. So when they removed him, then Damiba came. Damiba wanted to sell out to the French, and then that is how Traore and his group came and say you cannot sell us out. So France has been trying all means, even to bribe them in Burkina Faso, so that they can come back to power. But they have held their ground, and they are so far succeeding in how things are going, and they have been able to put together a confederation right now, and they are moving steadily. And this is what we have wanted to see. This is what the African people have wanted to see. The African people have wanted to see a united Africa, a meaningfully united Africa, which acts with one voice, and not these puppet states which we have, which are mostly controlled by the West, France, Brussels, Washington, and London. So that is what is happening briefly, just to give you a small background on what is happening with the Sahel states. Mahlet, let's go to the ECOWAS summit and then the AES summit.
Yeah, very good, Zen. Now, I think one cannot pass without being mused how the timing of these summits, one after the other, and it could not have been any more perfect than this. That's my opinion. But I'm gonna ask you. So the AES summit happened on Saturday and the ECOWAS summit was on Sunday. Do you think it's a coincidence? Let's start from that.
Yeah, so personally, I really don't think it was a coincidence. I think they planned it. They planned it very well to know that ECOWAS, this is when it's going to have its summit. Let us also have our own, to send a clear message to them that we are very determined in our direction. We are very determined in our choices, in what we have decided to do, and the direction where we have decided to go, that we are not coming back to ECOWAS. Because they have been mentioning that they are not coming back to ECOWAS, a couple of times. Yeah. Even when they came out first and said they are forming their own organization, which is AES, and they are turning their back on ECOWAS. ECOWAS thought that it was a joke, all right? When they withdrew themselves from ECOWAS, ECOWAS came up with some justifications in which it said that if you are a member of ECOWAS, you are supposed to, to give, a year in advance, a notification. You are supposed to notify the body a year in advance before you can come out. And these guys, they had their own grievances because they thought that ECOWAS is an organization which is supposed to have the interest of the people at heart, but rather ECOWAS allowed itself to be used by the imperialists, the white imperialists, the white supremacists, to impose instead sanctions on Niger and make the people suffer. And Nigeria closed its border. Nigeria cut off its electricity because majority of the electricity in Niger comes from Nigeria. Tinubu cut off all the electricity. It closed the border. So for them, they kept this. They took this to heart, and they never forgot it. So even when ECOWAS came back and say they have removed the sanctions, and of course, not forgetting the threats of invasion, they were threatening that they're going to invade ECOWAS. They have activated the ECOWAS standby army. So if it was not for Mali and Burkina Faso who came out and said if they try to attack Niger, then they will be attacking Burkina Faso and Mali. So this summit, I think that it was to send a clear message. If ECOWAS has been living in denial that these countries are coming back, it's just to show them that we are getting stronger and we are much more serious in the direction which we have taken. And of course, they don't see ECOWAS as a serious organization
Yeah.
anymore, looking at its track record. So I don't think that it was a coincidence at all.
Thank you. That's what I think too, and that's what. And I'm very happy that it happened on Saturday, the AES one, and the other one happened on the next day, because they have sent them their clear message. Now let's go to the summit itself. So can you guide us through what happened in that summit, meaning ECOWAS summit vis-a-vis the AES summit? What were the major highlights?
Yeah, so at the summit, of course, the major highlights was again the three countries which are not attending the summit, the ECOWAS summit, the 65th heads of state ECOWAS summit, which happened in Nigeria, of course. So the heads of state were there. Tinubu was there. The president of Sierra Leone was there. The president of Ghana was there. I saw him. The president of Guinea-Bissau, Mbalu, was there. So all these were there. The president of Senegal, the new president of Senegal, was there. I didn't see Ouattara there from Ivory Coast. So I think it is because of how this summit was going to be looked at as controversial. And also the fire which they were spitting from the AES summit. Also, they were talking about puppets. So I believe that it could be one of the reasons why Ouattara, because he knows that he's a very big puppet of France, and at one point he was used to overthrow the ECOWAS currency which was being launched. France used Ouattara to disrupt the launching of that currency. So I believe that he could have had such reasons not to attend. And the other thing is that if you look at Ouattara, is one of those people who came through a constitutional coup, that he extended his term limits. He extended his term. He was supposed to be a president for 2 terms, and he amended the constitution and took another 3rd term. So these are things which are really not mentioned. But if you are talking about juntas, then Ouattara too is a junta in that sense. And that is why actually the president of Liberia, during that period when they were threatening, Niger, that they're going to attack, the president of Liberia during that period, George Weah, he was saying that this is laughable. What they are doing is laughable. That how can they talk of, attacking Niger because of the coup, when people in ECOWAS itself are changing the constitutions and. So he was saying that it is contradictory. What ECOWAS is engaging in is contradictions. If they're talking about people staying in power for a short period of time, then they should start by sanitizing ECOWAS itself, including Ouattara, because Ouattara was saying he's one of those people who are going to contribute to the military, soldiers, troops to go and attack Niger. But when you look at Ouattara himself, he came through a coup, a constitutional coup. He amended the constitution and extended the terms, and people died on the street demonstrating. He has never been held accountable for that because he's being supported by France. So it happens that whenever these white countries of Europe, the United States and the other Western countries, whenever they want some leader to be, some head of state to be a president for life, like how you see Paul Biya in Cameroon, if they want him to be a president for life for 50 years, they do whatever they want. They can let him be there. If they don't want somebody to be there, then they justify it as term limits. So this is where we are also, as Africans, waking up from, and we have to capitalize. Actually, we have to wake up, very quickly, so that we can also capitalize on these contradictions. we have to point out these contradictions within their own camp. So these contradictions will not go away, and they are an opportunity for us, especially the revolutionaries who want to see a better continent of Africa and governed by Africans without the influence of the West. So the future of the organization is in danger. The future of ECOWAS in itself, is in danger with the exit of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, who have refused to return, even when, a hand has been extended to them. ECOWAS has decided, in the past that it will stop, threatening them and invite them back. They refuse. Okay,
Yeah.
so the AES views this as a club of neo-colonial representatives. So it has refused, to come back. So what it is saying is that, when you look at the speech of Traore, he said that the puppets are plenty on the continent. Actually, he used the analogy. He picked, I think, in one of Malcolm X's speech when Malcolm X was talking about the slave and the slave master. All right. So he said that these slaves, who are the representatives of neo-colonialism, are always fighting to take care of the needs of the master. If the master asks for this, they give the master whatever he wants. They neglect the interests of their people. You see, so I think it's Traore, brought it very well by using that analogy of our ancestor, Malcolm X. But I believe that this is symptomatic also, of the behavior exhibited by ECOWAS heads of state when they imposed, sanctions on Niger. Instead of finding an African way of dealing with these problems. So they caused this. So this is resulting from, the behavior of behaving like colonialists, because they are trying to copy their master, which of course President Traore said that instead of us behaving in our African way of dialogue, they decided to use force, and blackmail, impose sanctions on Niger instead of finding, our own way of dealing with this problem and say, let's dialogue. What happened? What are your grievances? All right. So they decided to rely on Europe and America. And you saw ECOWAS that it was frequent in Europe. They went to Europe, that they wanted to seek advice from the European Union. You saw the commission of, the chairperson of the ECOWAS Commission and the commissioner for defense and security. They were in Europe. That they wanted to seek guidance from Europeans, which was a huge shame. It was a huge shame, even for the heads of state, to allow this kind of thing to happen. So yet we have, these countries continuing to say that they want AES, AES to come back, the AES countries to come back. So as we see, the US was seeking to take care of its own interests in the African continent. So while the Africans were going, these ECOWAS Africans were going to Europe to seek their advice, the United States and Europe were not seeking any advice from the Africans. And we saw this with Victoria Newland, which we have already spoken about, who was the Deputy Secretary of State in the United States, that she slipped through Libya and went into Niger because they wanted to secure their base, their United States base. They never asked ECOWAS, or should we go to Libya? Should we go through Libya to go to Niger? You see? And even France itself, when it attempted to overthrow the government in Burkina Faso, which we again have spoken about, it did not seek the help of ECOWAS, or it did not go and seek advice from ECOWAS if they agree with the overthrow of the government in Burkina Faso. So this goes to show you that ECOWAS is an organization now which is out of touch with the reality, completely out of touch with the reality, and it has fallen back. It has fallen back on the events and is not is not in rhythm with the tempo and the heartbeat of the people. Is out of touch actually with what is going on the ground with the African people. Okay, so this is a huge contradiction. It's a huge contradiction, and they themselves who say that they are an independent group of independent states, what we are seeing is that they are not independent, and they have not come out. ECOWAS has not come out to deny this, And this is what they have been accused of, actually, a lot by the alliance states, the Sahel alliance states. They have accused them of being used by foreign countries. And ECOWAS has not come out, even for a single day, to deny that we are being used. So this is what makes it ironic. So now here someone wonders uh, who is the puppet and who is a junta. All right. So the ECOWAS countries themselves, then they are indirect juntas because they are serving the interests of foreign powers in Africa. So they are not serving the interests of African people. So they themselves, they are indirect juntas who are saying that, the revolutionaries who are trying to take care of the African people, the interests of the African people, they are now being called juntas. So, in my observation, I think that the ECOWAS heads of state who are claiming that they are representatives of the democracy, they are the ones who are foreign juntas. All right, they are indirect juntas because they don't represent the interests of the African people, even though they claim to have come through democracy. So, back to you, Mahlet.
No, thank you, Kwame, for that, comparison between ECOWAS and AES. But again, sticking to the summit, is there anything that we beside AES becoming an agenda for ECOWAS? Is there any useful, agenda that we can pick from ECOWAS? What was
Yeah,
other
yeah.
highlights?
Yeah, so what happened is that the highlight was to bring back AES. They were concerned that Mali, Burkina Faso are going out.
Okay,
They are saying,
other
so
than
the claim was that what they were claiming is that the people are going to suffer. The people who are coming from the three countries, as if they have not been suffering. That they are not going to, enjoy the benefits of being part of ECOWAS. And of course, I think this is a neo-colonial tactic. Even during colonialism, they were saying that if you get independence, you will not get the protection of Britain. This is what they used to say. Or you will not get the benefits of being associated with Britain. So this is
okay.
during the colonial period. So these tactics, I think they are not, they are not new. These are not new tactics. Any colonial, enterprise, that is how it behaves. So they are saying that the citizens of AES, of the alliance states of the Sahel, are not going to enjoy the benefits of being part of ECOWAS, ECOWAS passport, going through and moving through freely into those countries. Even when you look at the people who travel, I really don't think the people who travel normally from these countries to come and do business in the ECOWAS countries are even up to 1%. I don't think they are even up to 1% or 2%. It is unlikely that they are up to that number. Most of the people, they normally stay in their countries. So it is unlikely. So this is just the exaggeration that goes on, unfortunately. So that is what was, and of course, even the African Union, a commissioner for peace and security, Ambassador Bankole, also spoke about it, that it is concerning because for them, as the African Union, they recognize ECOWAS with all the countries. They don't want to recognize ECOWAS with minus the three countries. So I think it was an indictment in itself. It was an indictment of ECOWAS and its failure to understand. And of course, it is an indictment on President Tinubu himself, because he is now the chair of ECOWAS. All these problems, apart from, aside from Nigeria facing a lot of challenges, devaluing currency and inflation, and also Tinubu's having commissioned a new, economic management team, which we are going to come and talk about here. That Nigeria is facing a lot of problems when it comes to inflation. Tinubu is the one who has presided over this functionality. Is the one who has presided, precisely over the departure of these three countries from ECOWAS. So African Union definitely is also very concerned. And of course, we'll come another day and talk about African Union itself, why it should be concerned and whether it has done enough by itself. And where was it when, ECOWAS was behaving in this kind of way? So back to you, Mahlet.
And what are the major highlights we take from the AES summits?
Yes, definitely. For the AES, they are forging forward. Like we said, they signed a pact, a
Okay.
confederation, and they are looking at moving much forward with integrating everything which they have as in form of cooperation. They have, of course, launched a joint military force which is going to help to combat terrorism within the three countries within the region. That is finished. They are looking at integrating their foreign policy, and the leaders spoke about it. President Tiani of Niger spoke about it, that they should be looking at integrating their foreign policy, integrating all the economic policy, infrastructure, all these things. They are looking at it. As you see, definitely a unified state. So the three states are moving in that direction, which is a very, very good thing. So what was demonstrated was resolve, from the AES, was complete resolve and complete unity and integration of policy in every way and at every level. So it is a good sign. It is very energizing. It is very encouraging on the side of ES, and especially for the African people who have wanted a unified African state, a powerful Africa, a strong Africa for a very long time, because we are not humiliated because we are just Africans, but because we are weak Africans. That's the reason why we are humiliated on the international stage.
I want to give you the opportunity to quickly reflect on what did you think of those thousands of I think I should say hundreds of thousands of people welcoming Burkina Faso's leader Ibrahim Traore, and I'm sure that has been also extended to Colonel Assim Goita of Mali, and them walking through that. And even when they are in the car, it was, they are just driving slow, but the number of people, it was really amazing. That by itself, I think, even before the summit happens, the summit of AES sends a message that
Yeah, so actually this I tell you that even if they came to our other countries, the so-called democracy, even if they came to Ghana, those people, this is what would happen. So this shows you that the people are suffocating in these so-called democratic countries because people don't eat democracy, people eat food, all right? And these countries, we are suffering, our people are suffering, and these people like Nanado, they are telling us that they are carrying out democracy. They are, pushing democracy, and they are celebrating democracy for 30 years of democracy in Ghana. They are celebrating. Akufo-Addo is celebrating, but the people are suffering. So it shows you that the people really know what is going on, and people, they are just enduring this system, but people don't like the system. All right, that is what people show. This gesture, whereby they welcomed these leaders when they came to Niger. It shows you that people are looking for a savior, and people, are being oppressed. This system is being, imposed on the people. All right, it is being imposed on the people, and people are suffering within inside. But when they get a chance to come out and express themselves, this is what happens. All right, this is what happens when people come out to express what they are feeling inside. So they see this as a relief. They see this as an opportunity that the resources of Niger will come. These leaders will help to mobilize the resources so that the resources are benefiting the country. Just like President Traore, said in one of his speech when he was at this summit, that uranium is being taken to France to light up France, to provide energy for France. In Niger here, there's no power, there's no light, there's no electricity. Yet the people in France are enjoying electricity. So what kind of democracy is this that you are telling us when you are moving in this direction? So the people see that this is an opportunity, and we need to celebrate people who at least represent us, even though we have endured puppets like Bazoum, and all the other countries are enduring puppets like, Ouattara and maybe Nana Addo, all these puppets who are presenting themselves like they are for the people, but people like, William Ruto, these puppets who represent the interests of the West, okay? But they present themselves as if they are for the people. So people are saying that now at least we have true representatives of our interest. And so there is hope. There's hope. So the people in those countries, you can see that they are more hopeful than maybe you see people like in Ivory Coast or in people in Ghana or in Kenya, Nairobi. So I think that this is a good direction to go. And I would encourage even the other African countries to move in that direction of having revolutionary leaders in power instead of, bamboozling us and holding us back with, empty people who are promising democracy, and they are coming to power and stealing from the people.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Kwame. I remember when the revolution happened in Niger a year ago, and when they threatened the ECOWAS members, so ECOWAS was divided by the three countries apart. And then even before they left ECOWAS, okay, when they were threatening them to military intervene in Niger, so the agenda was, or the pretext was actually to restore democracy. And we remember that here at Connect Africa, we reported that as, you called them, personally, you have described these leaders, what kind of leaders are all the third termers and the fourth termers amending, actually having committed a coup against the constitution. And now they are dictators at home, and as we call them here, Connect Africa, dictators at home, democracy defenders outside. Okay, and this doesn't work. Yeah, this really does work. And the highlight that I think from your reflection is that this will be when I ask you, how the people have welcomed Traore, that will be the same welcome he will get if he comes to Ghana. You can see that how huge difference there is between the leader and the people. I mean, taking Ghana or Nigeria, any of those who are against the Sahel.
If you went to Nigeria, I'm telling you, people will celebrate.
Yeah,
If someone like that went to Nigeria.
But the leader sits there in ECOWAS building, wherever it is, and talk about as if they have committed some kind of sin or against law. This, like, you can see that how the leaders and the people in general are separate. You're talking two different things. If you go to the ordinary citizen, they welcome them. They are daily really listening and watching what is happening there, and they're talking how to protect these leaders, or they are saying at all costs Traore has to be protected, or General Tihiani or Asim Goita. So yeah, that's just interesting.
Yeah, and I think that is good thing that they are consolidating their positions. They are consolidating the revolution, and in Burkina Faso especially, they have consolidated. And I think in Mali too, they have consolidated the revolution. Niger too, I'm sure they have consolidated. So when they come together, they will consolidate it much more. Is Burkina Faso where they have been having some problems, some challenges, some sort of mutiny, some elements inside have been, in one way or the other boat, and they have wanted to cause some problems within internally. But I think that they have consolidated the revolution. So if they keep going like that, it will last. It could be the beginning of a new United States of Africa, which we want very much.
And don't forget it, do not underestimate your contribution, you people in the audience and everyone. And I'm telling to myself, to Kwame, and yeah, so we have a say on this. For them to continue what they have started, we all have a contribution. We can throw our 2 cents, in whatever way it is, for the continuation, or for this, not to be hijacked. So do not underestimate yourself. Wherever you are, you can contribute to this revolution. Now let's move on. And I want to ask you, Kwame, if there's anyone that, for example, if I'm asked, like, the best political analysts, knowing and understanding what's going on in the continent and looking at it, of course, from the Pan-African perspective. I think I would say you. I mean, we have worked for the past since 2020 when that war broke out in Ethiopia, in the northern part of the country. And ever since we have talked about a lot of things, and the way you analyze things, you look at things, and the way also you predict things most of the time, I think, I would say they're accurate. Now, I want you to use that now to ECOWAS. I mean, what is the fate of ECOWAS really? I mean, the people are more and more, supporting what's happening in Burkina Faso, Mali, or Niger. But what is the fate of ECOWAS? And in terms of also, they are talking about launching a new currency. We have seen that was failed once, trying to be injected by France using the Ivory Coast puppet. What's his name? Ouattara. So, yeah, can you share your view on that?
Yeah, so I think as an organization, the future of ECOWAS is very uncertain. I think it's very uncertain in the same way it is for the ANC. When you start engaging in a lot of contradictions, that is when things become very difficult, because at the same time, or at some point, the negative contradictions which you have entertained come and they overtake the positive contradictions which you may be representing. So the positive values which you may be representing. So these contradictions which you have decided to bring on, like what we are seeing ANC, coming into government with these organization, so-called the Democratic Alliance, at the detriment of the interests of their people, or instead of looking for the people, then that is what ECOWAS also has been doing. Actually, this future is not just uncertain now, but it has been uncertain for a very long time. And the absence of 4 members at this summit, of course, you can talk about Burkina, Mali, Niger, and Guinea. Of course, Guinea's fate, we don't know which direction it is going, but it is suspected that in Guinea is the Americans who are in control over there in Guinea, and that coup was not for the people. So the disintegration of the organization looks set for me. It looks very set, and it is a huge, back step. Okay, it is a huge slide if you lose these 3 members. That means the organization is going to lose its strength. If you look at the people who attended, they are not really solid people that they represent anything serious. People like Nana Addo is not somebody you can look at as a strong African statesman on the continent that is going to hold the organization together. You look at people like Tinubu, is not some serious leader you can say he's going to energize the organization and bring back hope. You look at the policies he's implementing at home, neoliberal policies, devaluing the currency, inflation to the top, bringing policies and reversing them, removing subsidies on fuel and then putting them back. So you can see that it shows somebody who doesn't really stand for something. So this is why I see that the organization is going in the direction of, disintegrating. While the organization is looking at, or looks to be launching a new currency, maybe to save face from all the mistakes which have been done, including the failure to launch the same currency about 2 to 3 years ago with the interruption of France. I don't see it working out. Even the currency itself they are talking about that they want to launch, we really don't see it working out. And this is to some extent, I think, shows lack of leadership within the organization. You can't build an organization where there is so many, leaders, and all of them are equal. They are saying the same thing. There's no supreme leader. You see, this creates a huge vacuum where, whereby, when it comes to rapid decision making, you don't make these decisions. And you can see this in in organizations which we have all over the continent, organizations like the African Union, that at the organization, at the African Union itself, power is diluted, that there's no one, everyone is just moving in different directions. All right. So there's no one with the power to make, a concrete decision and take a solid decision which is going to affect the whole continent. There's no one. Power is embodied in the heads of state, and they are dispersed in 55 African countries. So the AU becomes an organization which is like an NGO. And of course, this speaks also to the East African community and the SADC and, all these countries. So, they can make noise when it comes to weak countries. Like, for example, ECOWAS has ever gone into, these countries, Gambia, to remove a president there. It has ever gone, it has threatened recently to go into, countries like Sierra Leone. And this is simply because these are small countries. These are very small countries. But when you are talking about solid countries, which have militaries, that is why you see that they could not go to the Sahel states, to attack them. Okay, they can only bully these small countries like Gambia and Sierra Leone, but they cannot go, they cannot take really solid decisions. So all these organizations, including ECOWAS, are suffering from the same predicament, that there is no supreme leader to make, huge decisions. The AU Commissioner for Peace and Security, of course, who was present, as I mentioned, he talked about the withdrawal of these countries, and of course saying is unacceptable. Okay, which of course, as I said again, looks like an indictment of ECOWAS, but it is a recognition of the failures of ECOWAS. Is the failures of ECOWAS, even though he himself did not talk about the African Union, because the African Union, this issue, spoke about it mutedly. He did not agree with the sanctions. He did not agree with the aggressive rhetoric which ECOWAS was using, but it was not enough. It was supposed to do more. It was supposed to influence ECOWAS's position. So it also represents his observations as the AU Commissioner on Peace and Security, Mr. Bankole. These comments represent the failure of both, ECOWAS and the failure of the African Union. So you see all these organizations, from my point of view, have failed the African people. All right. For me, they have failed the African people. All these battalions of intellectuals who troop, for example, to the African Union, whenever we have these annual summits of the heads of state, or these intellectuals who are trooping to ECOWAS or East African Community or SADC, whenever these summits are being held, they do not make decisions. They do not make decisions. But what they do, they are just there to abide. They are just to abide, like I said, with what the heads of state, have said. Okay, so they want to wait for coups, and then they come out momentarily after a long period of which they have had to make really solid decisions, which are going to affect the lives of the common people, the African people. Give everyone a common passport across the African continent. Let the African people move across. This is a solid policy which would affect the lives of many, across the continent. They don't do that. So they wait for coups, and then they wake up momentarily, and these intellectuals, instead of making these solid decisions and advising their governments, they go there and praise heads of state as the heads of state are doing well. Instead of putting pressure, we should be putting pressure. Okay, whoever is the authority, we should be putting pressure so that they can make the decisions instead of sitting down dormant with power. You see that the African heads of state, which I said 55 of them, they sit in the countries dormant with all the powers, and they are not doing anything with that power. The African heads of state are not doing anything with that power. If they are doing anything, it sometimes is just retrogressing the interests of the people, pushing the interests of the people backwards, and putting the interests of neocolonialism to the forefront, as we are seeing President Ruto doing. So if they don't act, I believe that the door of patience of the African people is closing in on both the intellectuals and the heads of state. Because look, these organizations like ECOWAS are being run by bureaucrats who are the intellectuals, African intellectuals, and they are getting big salaries. Okay, so if they don't act, I believe that the door, of patience on the side of Africans is closing in, and the African people is closing in, and these intellectuals and their counterparts, the heads of state, who are inflicting what many have called, or even what we call, economic violence on the African people, you know, are going themselves to see the violence. And of course, we have seen it in the Sahel states. In Niger, that people like Bazoum was there and he's claiming that he's bringing reforms in Niger. And he was even being praised by people like Blinken and the whole United States diplomats, group of diplomats. We are frequenting Niger and praising him as a reformer in Niger. And he was not doing anything. He was just allowing resources to flow out. And this is exactly what is happening in all the other African countries, including South Africa. So I believe that people now will wake up, and regardless of which rhetoric these intellectuals use, like even right now, how we are seeing that they are calling the revolutionaries in Niger, they are calling them junta, whatever rhetoric like that which they use, people will not listen to it. People will not mind it. So the result of whatever our intellectuals on this African continent have been doing, or whatever complacency they have been carrying out, and whatever yes men they have been to the African heads of state, the result is what is happening, in Kenya. You see that I was looking at the videos when the people were demonstrating in Kenya. The MPs were running out and driving their cars and almost knocking people down, because the people are coming now. Now we see that they see that people are serious. So these are the results. And I believe that we are going to see, more of this coming. And organizations like ECOWAS, I think that they are not going to represent much more, because even now, it's not this for ECOWAS, it's not even just in the future. Even now, it doesn't really represent much in the interests of the African people. And if you came and asked anybody about ECOWAS in these countries, I mean, it's unlikely that they will think much of it as an organization. So one can further say that AES is succeeding in areas which the African Union and the regional economic communities, have failed. They have failed to harmonize. They have failed to reach even the pacts which they sign. They don't, respect them. When they sign documents, they don't respect them. Like we mentioned, they signed that they should give Africans a single African passport. They don't do it. The African heads of state, they don't do it. They launched the African passport in 2018 in Kigali. They don't do it. And now we are looking at what the EES is doing, the Sahel states are doing. They're talking about defense. They are talking about foreign policy. They are talking about harmonizing trade. And they have formed a confederation. And they are pushing these things forward. So you can see that this is going to be the relevant organization of the future if it continues to move in this direction of decisiveness. You have people who are decided in what they are doing, that this has to be done, and it has to be done urgently. So I think that this is going to be the relevant organization, and ECOWAS will fade into the dust.
You may have said it indirectly, but just to know, for us to take a note, what are the things that, if any, you could point out what AES or ECOWAS, lacks?
So I think that is political will, because when you go even at the African Union, when the African heads of state come there, what you see is looking down on each other by the heads of state. But when you go to AES, you could see that these guys, they respect each other. All right. When you go to the African Union, so when you don't respect each other, then there's no political will. Definitely, you cannot take decisions which are going to affect your people, who are going to be in the interest of your people. If you are saying that, okay, let's take a policy on resources, or the management of resources, or a single passport, or let us take a position on foreign policy because we are being disrespected on international stage. But they don't do that simply because they don't respect each other. So there is lack of political will. So AES is moving in this direction because there is political will. There is so much political will. That is why you see that they have reached the point of launching a confederation, and they're talking about a single, economy. They are talking about, a single foreign policy. They have already started talking about these things. These are the things actually which Nkrumah was talking about. When you look at this the speech which Nkrumah gave in 1963 in Addis Ababa, he was talking about us having a single, a single bank, a single central bank. He's talking about a single foreign policy, and he's talking about a single military. These are the things. These are the three important things which the ES is also talking about, and these are the things which Nkrumah spoke about. So in a nutshell, these guys are like actualizing, they are walking the talk of Pan-Africanism, which Nkrumah, was asking us to do, or he was asking the heads of state during his time to do, and which the current heads of state, of course, also know, but they have neglected and they have decided to move in a different direction, which does not benefit the interests of the African people, or which delays. They have moved in the direction which delays the interests of the African people.
Thank you, Kwame. Really, thank you very much. That was really interesting, all-rounded. It gives us, everybody. When I say everybody, mostly the Pan-African platforms are, you find them on YouTube channels. The others are, they are just, even if they are African national broadcasts or whatever, mostly they echo what is being said on the mainstream media. So now the mainstream media have also started to talk about this. Of course, they want to get their view. So Kwame mentioned it. They say still the junta leaders. But people are aware. First spot. This is the Indian platform is also calling the same, like they call them the junta leaders. And I'm happy one of us. When I say one of us, like Africans, he commented, say, he or she commented saying, point of correction, these are not junta leaders, they're leaders of their people in whatever way they come. So many will be said in the coming days, I'm sure. But it's important for us to set the narrative, and that's exactly why we are here. These people are revolutionary leaders, and we just analyzed what happened. Unless there is a question, I think we better end it. It's like 57 minutes. It was active, very nice. There was a lot of engaging here on the chat section. Mohammed Musa Ali, you are the first always. Dejuma, Bichem, Curtis. Let me see if there is any.
Yeah, Muhammad Musa Ali, we want to thank him for being part of the program all the time, supporting the Juma Boutique.
Early, yeah.
We want to thank you also for supporting Curtis Edwards. We see you there. I think he's our brother from the diaspora. We see a lot of people here down here. Musa Ture, Louis Button, we see you. Thank you for being part of this. Lion Rule, the jungle without fear. We see you there. We appreciate you. Bechem, Koyoto, Koyato, we see you. We appreciate you for being part of the platform. Barrington Dennis, thank you so much. Your brother John, we see you. Samuel Lopez, Bule, we see you also. We appreciate you. Rafaya Kongoman, also we see you. We appreciate all of you guys for being part of the program. We appreciate you a lot, a lot, a lot. Thank you for being part of the program. Stepmaster, hey, a lot of people, a lot of new people, Mahlet, I'm seeing a lot of people, here.
Yeah, it was really hot here. Yeah.
Brevard Porter, yes, so it's a lot of people. Our brothers have been a lot of them.
It's
Cornelius Vincent, wow. Yeah, so all these are new guys. So we appreciate you for being part of the program. We thank you for supporting. We really, really appreciate you. yeah, it's very important that you come and then we dialogue, about our affairs as African people. But most important, we need to organize. We have to organize, and we are organizing on the ground. So we need to be in the same spirit of organizing, because the liberation of the continent of Africa means the liberation of all African people across the globe, across the globe. And it is not me saying these words. Malcolm X also said this very well, clearly. So that is why sometimes it disturbs me when I see some of our brothers in the United States going off the rail and engaging in different activities. I'm hearing other people saying they are fundamentally black this. But we have what Malcolm X said. We have what Malcolm X said. So I don't know whether these people who are saying fundamentally black this, black that, stronger than Malcolm X, or are more intellectual and have more sight than Malcolm X. But Malcolm X said that unless we work to build Africa is strong, no black man is going to be respected across, anywhere across the world, including the United States. So we have to work together as black people, as Africans, so that we can liberate the African continent first, and then we will see that the respect will come to every black person across the planet. So I give to you back, Mahlet, the microphone, and I just want to appreciate all our brothers from the diaspora who have decided to be part of the channel. Thank you so much.
Thanks again. And at Barrington, Dennis, I have just put the countries. He said, those who are against. I think if I am allowed to rephrase, the members of ECOWAS who were threatening Niger, or also the Alliance of the Sahel states, are this, So except the three countries, I think these are the members. Are there 13 or 14 countries in ECOWAS? How many?
There are supposed to be 15 countries. I
So
think they are right now.
the three Guinea are there. All three of them are part of it.
I beg your pardon?
All the three types of Guinea, the Guinea countries, they are in it, or two of them only?
Yeah, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry is part of it. The two of them, they are also part of ECOWAS.
If I'm missing anything, but these are okay. I tried to put the list of the country.
No, the other Guinea, I think Equatorial Guinea is from the central part. That one is not part of ECOWAS. Equatorial Guinea is in the Central Economic Community of Central African States. That one doesn't make a lot of noise because they don't have a lot happening. Though that community of the Central, it doesn't have a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah, okay. All right, then I think we should end it here, unless there's anything urgent that's coming. Then tomorrow we will meet again, and we will be talking about Nigeria, the recent economic teams that Bola Tinubu has set. But for everything, we're not gonna say much. Just tune in again, subscribe to the channel, give it a like if you find it informative, which I am sure you will find it. So and share the video. If you want to help us further, please go ahead to the description section. You can find our PayPal account. You can donate to that. Thank you for being here, for trusting us, for giving your time, for engaging. I know even after the stream is over, on the comment section, some of you, I engage with you with your comments, and I try to answer also your questions. Please let's set the narrative. And ciao. It's a ciao from me, Kwame. Thank you. We'll see you again tomorrow.